Hi there, Cassandra here with Opera for All Folks, and on this channel I break down operatic stories in easy to understand terms, and I share my journey as I build my operatic career as an opera singer. Welcome! Alright, I am so excited to jump into today's video. We get to tackle some opera stories. Today's opera was written by Gaetano Donizetti, and it was originally named Deux hommes une femme, two women and two men and one woman, but it is now affectionately called Rita. And so I'd never heard of this opera before, but I learned about it when I was cast in the leading role of Rita with the SAS Performing Arts Company here in New York. By the time this video is out to the world, I was supposed to sing and perform this show on February 16th, but things just didn't work out and the whole production completely fell apart. I'm picking up the reins and I'm going to produce this opera, so keep an eye out for early May. I'm thinking either the first or second week of May that I will figure out how to produce this opera myself. Things are in the works. I'm very excited. So sign up for my newsletter below to stay up to date on when I am having my next performance. And now let's jump into some opera facts. Gaetano Donizetti lived from 1797 to 1841, and he's an Italian composer. He was a leading composer at the time, along with Rossini and someone else's name I'm going to stick right here because it's not coming to mind. But they specialized in what is known as the bel canto style, or translated as beautiful singing. Donizetti lived to 50 years old, but he wrote almost 70 operas within that time. Like, whew, look at the amazing things we can do when we're not distracted, right? He wrote the opera Rita in 1841, and it is an opera in one act, so it's done in about an hour, and it's got 8 scenes and dialogue that connects the scenes together, kind of like musical theater. It is a domestic comedy, so it's 3 characters that we see in this opera, Rita, Gasparo, and Giappine, or Beppe. Donizetti is known for doing comedies. He is known for Les Îles d'Amour, or The Elixir of Love, as well as Don Pasquale, which is a great opera as well. I'll be talking more about those operas down the pipeline. This opera, Rita, is not as well known, I believe, because it wasn't discovered until after Donizetti died. It was just found with his belongings. Donizetti wrote it as an exercise to stay busy while he was waiting for a commission from La Scala in Milan, or Milano, Italy. While Donizetti was waiting in France, he happened to run into a co-librettist who he had written operas with before, and he asked his friend Gustave Vaez, he's like, hey Gustave, could you just give me something to work on? I just need like something to keep me busy while I'm waiting for this commission to come in. And Gustave was like, yep. He immediately turned around with The Story of Rita. According to Vaez, Donizetti completed writing this opera in 8 days. Like, just whip that up in a week. He's like, done. He wrote it, but he originally wrote it in French, and he wanted to have it performed at the Opéra Comique, which is where Carmen was also originally performed. And I talk about Carmen in this video over here. You can definitely go check it out. I think I need to do that video again. I think I can do a better rendition of Carmen, but that's for another day. The point is, they rejected the idea of Rita. They're like, no, thank you, but no. And Donizetti, he had it translated into Italian, and he tried to get the show produced in Napoli, or Naples, but unfortunately the impresario, or the impresario is a person who organizes and makes sure that there are operas to be produced. So the impresario unfortunately died, and because he passed away, it meant that the whole project just fell apart, and Donizetti wasn't able to get it produced there, and then he just kind of put it aside, quite rightly forgot about it. On to the story. Rita takes place in the 18th century in an inn on the road from Genoa to Turin. And I looked this up and I realized to drive by car, it would be a 2-hour drive. In the 18th century, it would take you 2 days. So it makes sense that you would want to stop at an inn in the middle of the trip. The scene starts with Rita in her home/inn, where that's how she makes her income and her money. And she is singing about how content and happy she is. It is such a cute little aria. singing about how she's blessed. She's got customers coming in, she's happy in her home, and she also goes on to talk about her husband, Beppe, or Jepin. I think Jepin is her nickname for him, but his name is Beppe. She talks about how much of a moron he is. But she also kind of likes him for that, and she also expresses that if there's ever anything that's out of line, she just shows them who's boss, and compares her relationship with Jepin or Beppe with a relationship that came before, but we get into that later. In the next scene, Rita sees her husband, Beppe, and she is admiring how sweet and silly he is. And he's such a goof, but I love him. He's my goof. Beppe is responding to her love calls, and it's clear to me in the text that he is attracted to her and he's happy to be with her and he admires her, but he's also really afraid of her because there's a point in their little duet where first she's begging him to hug her and she just wants to kiss him and love him up. When Jepin or Beppe feels like Rita is in a good mood, he very slowly tells her that he has broken accidentally one of her favorite cups that has like a historic meaning, and she turns on a dime and immediately just rails into him about what an idiot he is and how awful he is, and she just smacks him up, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, throw me in the river, oh my gosh, like do what you must, because he just like gives in to her. So a new customer walks into the inn looking for a room, and Gasparo is his name, and we don't know it yet, but Gasparo is Rita's actual husband, legitimate husband. And Beppe is there smarting from the smacks he's just gotten from Rita, and Gasparo asks, hey dude, are you all right? Like, what's going on? And Beppe's like, man, my wife, she's just like a ball and chain, she's driving me crazy. And Gasparo says, you know what you really need, dude? You need to learn how to beat your wife. Just don't kill her so that she knows what's up. And that's his aria, which I'm like, hey, it's cute music, but it's a comedy. It's a comedy. Si può picchiare l'amore, ma non si deve accappare, no, 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 ma non si deve accappare, no, 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 no. Beppe is like, oh, that's very interesting. And they start to chat and talk. And Gasparo tells Beppe, look, I'm in town to try to get a marriage license from my old wife that died in a fire. And apparently everything was like burned up. But I'm here to check if I can still get the marriage contract because I want to get remarried to this amazing woman in Canada. And Beppe starts to put two and two together because he knows that Rita was married before. And Rita uses that as like ammunition against him to compare how he's acting to what she had before, and she claims that first love was so great and that he's just like this throwaway, right? And so Beppe's like, I think that this is Rita's actual husband, and maybe if this is Rita's actual husband, I'll be able to get out of this relationship I have with Rita and I'll be free. So the next scene, Rita comes in and she is berating Beppe, and Gasparo, he's probably sitting there waiting in the lobby of the inn to get his room, and he can't help but overhear what's happening between Rita and Beppe, and he's like, my word, who is this awful woman? I think he says odio, this hateful woman would say these kinds of words to this cool dude that I just met. And he sees that it's Rita, and Rita sees that it's Gasparo, and they both are in shock. As Rita runs off, she believes that Gasparo died. He was on a ship to America, and there was a shipwreck, and she was told that he died in a shipwreck. And he was actually saved and went on to have a whole life, and now he's ready to marry someone else. As far as Rita's concerned, that man is not supposed to be her husband. But Beppe sees an opportunity, so he's like, dude, that's your wife. That means that I'm not actually her husband. And so this is your inn, and that's your wife, and you should be with her. And Gasparo is like, man, I really want to marry my new wife. Beppe says, let's play a game for Rita. Whoever wins gets to keep Rita, and whoever loses gets to be free. And they play this game. It's really cute. I do enjoy the music, just listening to them like You can hear the card game being played in the music. It's lots of fun. But they're both cheating, and ultimately Gasparo wins, and therefore Beppe is laughing. He's saying, you know, our wife is now yours. This is all yours. And he leaves because he's so excited. And we go into scene 5 where Beppe sings his amazing little aria. This tenor aria is really, really great. It's a showstopper. And he is singing about how very happy he is that he is free and he can do whatever he wants.
Allegrio so come un fringuei che spiega il vol libero al ciel sorride a me lieta stagion porno garzon tra la 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 il vol libero al ciel vedovo son torno garzon vedovo son torno garzon.
So next is scene 6, which is the duet between Gasparo and Rita. Gasparo is looking to win Rita over. He's coming in with all the schmooze and the ooze and trying to appeal to her softer nature. And Rita is coming in very strong that she is not changing her mind, but basically Gasparo is begging for the marriage contract and Rita is very much not going to give him the marriage contract. Also great music. You can hear her resisting, but I can also hear that she is flirting with him, and I think a part of that actually feels real for her. I think she is attracted to Gasparo. She's kind of seeing what her life could have been like if she stayed, but she doesn't want to be with Gasparo because he was abusive to her. He really was true when he said, you know, beat your wife, just don't kill her. And she doesn't want to go back to that kind of bad behavior. She likes being in control and having autonomy over her life. And she appreciates that she has a man that she has control over. So we go on to scene 7 where Beppe returns to pack up his things and he's getting ready to go. But Gasparo, in desperation, pulls Beppe aside and he asks Beppe to, come on, man, insult me. Come on, provoke me. Let's have a fight. But he does instigate a little bit with Gasparo, and Rita sees this and she's like, oh, he has so much courage. Look at my little Jepin. Oh, so now we're on to the trio. And so the three of them realize the predicament they're in. Gasparo sees an opportunity here. If I can get Rita and Beppe back together, then I get to get out of here. He's kind of won Rita over in this moment. I hate to say it because she's speaking to him in an affectionate term. She doesn't just say his name. She calls him like, oh, my little Gasparo. And so because he's trying to win Rita over, he feigns that his arm doesn't really work. I can't possibly hurt Rita anymore because look at how limited I am. And so Rita is actually kind of taken in by this, that she's like, oh, well, if I'm with Gasparo and he's my legitimate husband, I'll still get to be in control. I'll get to have the things as I like it and everything will be okay. And so she starts to say, dolce sposo, sweet husband. And that's when Gasparo is like, she's mine, I have her. Gasparo gets closer to Rita and he's like, what about the wedding contract? And she's like, eccolo qua, here it is. And he goes, thank you so much. Beppe is like, bravo, bravo to the happy couple. But then Gasparo is like, I have the contract at last. I am getting out of here and I'm going to say goodbye forever. And so secretly Gasparo says to Beppe, remember what I told you, you have to use my recipe wisely. And so Rita kind of pops up and she's like, look, beating your wife just leads you to troubles. Like really, it's just better if your wife is happy. Like, can we just work with that? And then Beppe swears harmony and love with his wife. And Gasparo says, well, I hope that everything works out for you two. May peace be with you. And that is pretty much the end of the opera, where they say goodbye and Rita's like, good riddance, out of here. And Beppe is like, oh, it's so great that you came. Thanks. Come back soon. And Gasparo is like, I am never coming back here. You know, addio forever, gone forever. And that is the end of the opera. All right, folks, that is my share for today. Thank you so much for watching. So I am going to be putting on a production of this show, Rita. I'm so excited to do it. It'll be my first time singing in a lead role. So be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you know when I am performing next, or you can sign up for my newsletter. Be sure to click the links below. But thank you again for watching. It has been a blessing to share a little piece of my love and my heart with you. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.